Hello, this is Bud. Let's talk about making a chess set using two-sided carves. Some people have been talking about a round chess set using dowel rod. I prefer to use flat stock. That way I can control easier how my stock lies. I don't have to make a special attachment for the dowel to hold it in place. I do mine on a sled. I've covered my sled, at least in part, in another AVI lesson that was made the middle of March of 2009, and it's titled Two-Sided Cow, and it's the beginning of that lesson, so you can see there a little bit of my thinking pattern on my sled. Basically, you could do the same thing with a 2x8 in order to do your testing and everything. But let's talk about what I'm doing here with this chess piece. The height or width of my piece of wood is 7 inches inside the sled, and the length is 6 inches. If I remember right, that's the smallest we can make the length according to the parameters. Of course, you have to add your 7 inches to that if you're using regular flat stock. With a sled, you'll have ample. You can get by with smaller pieces of wood, but you still have to tell it in designer that it's 6 inches in length. The thickness of my wood is about 1.5 inches. I put a 1.4, and for some reason designer takes that down to a 1.398. Neither here nor there. But I think I shaved my 2x6 or 2x8 slightly, just to get rid of the rounded edges on it. But essentially we're talking about 1.5 inches or a little bit less for this particular thing. Okay, here's my king. And this is the first piece I started with. The circles that you see here and at the bottom are what hold this in place as it's being cut. If you've looked at any two-sided carvings, you realize that when you're going all the way through the wood, you have to have something to keep it in place, just like you do if you're doing a cutout. So these circles end up being a carved region, and they're set at 1/4 inch in depth. That way they stay attached to the figure. So if the cut goes all the way through to meet whatever's on the other side, the piece will not fall out. And my way of thinking, 3 was enough. 2 at the bottom and 1 on the top of the crown was enough to hold this in place. So here's the rear, and if we look at this, we can see that I tilted the head slightly to my right in order to adjust it for the front. I do all my carvings like this on scrap wood to start with, so that I can see how they line up, but I had to line it up so that it wasn't askew of the front face. I wanted to be as close as I could. And when you lay these things out for a scan, you may not get everything square. You may not have anything along the side of your piece that you're scanning. to really know if you've got it square. So after I made my first test carve, then I just tilted the back slightly, and it turns out pretty good. The depth I use is 8/10, a 0.8. The height I use is a 950, and that's true for both the front and the back. And that would get me through a piece of wood that's a little over a 1/2 inch. But it works pretty good. I mean, I'm still playing with this, and this is my first piece of the chess pieces. So I'll repeat, if you want to make a sled and you've never made one, look at the two-sided cow video and you will see my thinking on making that sled so that it will hold this 1.5 inch stalk, or it can be modified with shims to hold 1/4 inch or a 3/4 inch stalk, and be able to be used for either. Later on I'll probably make one that is a 2 inch or a 2.5 inch, and get into some 4-sided carvings, but right now this is where I stand. But that is, in essence, how I'm making my 2-sided carve of an old English chess set. I hope you enjoy.